John Tuff, San Angelo Standard Times. Can you tell us what country the man traveled to?
I don't know if we're allowed to do that. We cannot say.
Can you tell us when he got here?
We do not know.
Do you know if he visited any locations around San Angelo or the Concho Valley before becoming ill, or was he quarantined the whole time?
Do we have that comment? Shane, you want to comment on these questions? If the answer is no, the answer is no.
The answer is really, I'd probably ask Lena and Dr. Veredis, but basically we're still researching and kind of going through that process. So really nothing to share at this point.
Is anyone else quarantined with him?
He's the first positive case in San Angelo, so he's been isolated.
Earlier, Sandra Villarreal said that 114 tests were currently pending. Is that the number of people who are currently quarantined in San Angelo, or is that number higher?
Sandra, you want to address that, or Dr. Veredis, you could answer that question perhaps?
Everybody that's tested becomes a person under investigation. They're quarantined. And again, once we get a negative test back, doesn't mean they're released from quarantine, because again, there are false negative tests. They're quarantined for the full 14 days.
Do you have an approximate number as to the number of people who are quarantined in San Angelo currently?
Sandra? It should be the same number as the tests that are pending, basically, or thereabouts.
Let me add this to it. There are people who are self-containing themselves at home because they have a high fever, don't know that they've been exposed, but feel better at home than out. So there are many people doing those things as we speak. They might not have been tested. They might have just had a higher temperature than normal. They might not feel great. So many people are I'm not sure what the correct terminology is, but self-quarantine themselves. So those are reasons it's hard to get a whole number in terms of what is exactly going on. Yes, Teresa.
A legal quarantine process that Dr. Veredis could go through. In addition to the governor's orders, the health commissioner also passed an order that gave him large amounts of authority to restrict people's movements. We have not issued any order through Dr. Veredis for people to formally be quarantined because we're seeing really good compliance. He and I have a conversation every day. Is there anybody that we need to issue a formal quarantine order for? And if they disobey that, we get a court order and then we can actually detain them. That has not been necessary here. We've had that conversation and we would detain them in a hospital. They wouldn't go to jail.
We understand that medical professionals and health officials are limited into what they can disclose due to HIPAA policy. Can city officials explain their justification as to why they are not telling citizens what country this individual came from or where they may have traveled prior to coming to San Angelo?
We are protecting people's privacy. We are a smaller community, and so those sorts of details, what we're actually required to do is not give any details that could disclose the identity of a person. And the smaller your community is, the more likely those kind of details could disclose a person's identity. We don't see necessarily that there's a medical need for the community to know that. It's not going to increase the level of protection for our city if you know those kinds of details. So how many tests we have, how many positives we have, how many tests are outstanding, what the circumstances are for this positive test, we feel is sufficient to give the community enough information to protect themselves while protecting the privacy of our citizens.